In 2025, the Earth was invaded by otherworldly monsters, war happened, human lost. The situation got really bad. In the year 2038, humans' gene technique and technology had made drastic changes. The gene warrior was born and the situation reversed. They pushed the monsters out of the Earth. In the year 2050, the gene exam officially started. Those who reached 18 years old and reached an unified test score can get injected with gene liberation medicine and activate gene type, obtaining superpowers. The era of gene officially starts, and in year 2137, Zhu is at his life's most important moment. Zhu thinks whether he wants to become a gene wearer or a researcher. He thinks that if he missed this chance, then he will be abandoned by this era and will become this era's lowest section trash. He remembers that since young, everyone faced unlimited homework and test just to get the ticket to participate in gene unified test. And the crazy torturing physical training is all for the sake of having a better physique. Zhu's hard work of so many years depends on today. After this, Zhu is seen talking to his mother on phone, and he tells her that injecting medicine has 1% chance of dying, and his mother asks him if he is really taking it, as he can just refuse to participate in this test. But he tells his mother that he has passed gene double priority and it will be a ID if he will not try it. The gene double priority is the highest type of gene unified exam. He then enters into the center. He then observes other children taking about activating genes. He feels that everyone who are participating have a strong mentality. A robot guard then tells Zhu to enter into room No. 25 to get gene liberation medicine injection. His iris and fingerprints get scanned and he passes the identity confirmation test. He thinks about what type of gene will he activate. He thinks of activating the body, limit type or special ability, superpower type gene. Other children are then seen talking about genes getting destroyed on how that picture is too scary. Finally, Zhu's turn comes, but suddenly, everybody notices that the student who just entered has caught fire due to side effect of the injection. It turns out that he dies as, after being injected, there will be side effects that will cause the student's gene to be destroyed, and it's a pity as the student was at least a flame-type awakener. Zhu starts thinking about his decision of entering the room, but then decides that he does not want to become a trash in this era of genes, and compared to the normal life, he wants to go beyond the Earth and explore. He then enters the room and meets a doctor. She asks a few questions to him before injecting him. The doctor asks if he knows that the injection has a death risk and he is willing to handle the effects and consequences, to which Zhu replies that he is ready. After the confirmation, she asks him to take off his pants as injecting from behind is more effective. The shorter the time, the better the effect. She then injects the injection and it turns out C-rank gene injection is complete and the life form is also stable. She tells that egg waves are normal and all states are currently stable. After 10 minutes, the doctor asks if he has any reaction, but Zhu says he feels nothing at all. He thinks that having an effect means the injection is effective and thinks if he failed to awaken. After 30 minutes later, the doctor says that the observation time has ended and it's discovered that Zhu has no abnormal reaction. She says that it's her first time seeing this kind of situation. Zhu thinks that though it has ended, but he feels strange somewhere. Suddenly, Zhu thinks that his head will explode. His heartbeat rate above 180 and his temperature rises 50 degrees, and all life forms seems chaotic. Zhu thinks that he is going to die. Zhu feels that he has died as his body feels light. He then sees a shape of himself sitting in front of him. After that, Zhu is seen getting powerful rehabilitation shocks and his vital signs get recovered after that. The doctor then tells him that he has activated 14 mysterious gene points, but then he realizes that those are just mysterious type wisdom points. Zhu thinks that wisdom type is mainly research type and he has to sit in the office if the job is just civilian. Zhu then asks the doctor about his ability and she tells him that activating gene points doesn't mean he can also obtain an ability. The doctor gives her card to Zhu and says that he can find her if he wants to enter Huazia Gene Evolution University. Wisdom type's problem. But with his situation, most likely he will also pick their school. And Xiao Zhu is mysterious school's professor. She is so young, so Zhu did not expect her to be a professor. Just as Zhu is about to leave, the doctor reminds her not to get targeted by the Hope Redemption organization. She says that they are a group of people who betrayed the humans and helped Earth's invaders. These few years, they are the reason why he still didn't hold any advantages in the last few big war. She says that they have made large movement recently, mainly to kidnap a few talented students for body experiment, and 5 students have gone missing. Mainly common thing is their gene points were 10 or more awakened. Zhu thinks that this is going to be troublesome as he has awakened 14 gene points and thinks he can be easily targeted because gene points having 10 or more awakened are getting kidnapped. Zhu then starts wondering about his ability and thinks that 14 gene points and his phantom having 14 light is connected. After this, Cheng Mo and Tang Ting are seen and ask Zhu about the gene points he activated. Cheng Mo tells him that he activated 11 gene points and 7 are at stomach and focuses on his digestive system. Both Cheng Mo and Tang Ting then start making fun of each other and start fighting. Zhu then tells them that he has activated 14 gene points. They both get surprised as they say that the whole Jin city only has a few people who had activated 10 or more gene points. They both then decide to follow him from now on, but Zhu says that all his activated points are wisdom type. Tang Ting then says that wisdom type's development is tight and it's hard to find job. But Cheng Mo says that he has a relative who also has wisdom type. He changed 7 jobs and after becoming a monk, he became a host now. They then start discussing that wisdom type profession is unpopular and he can basically walk on research direction. They further discuss that university choices are also limited and most likely he can only enter Gene Evolution University. After leaving, Zhu starts hearing news about how federal government has published a new policy and is aiming to enhance building human interest project. The new policy have 3 new space rules and has covered whole city's transport hub. He comes to know that currently, few students have gone missing with more than 10 gene points. That it seems to be done by Hope Redemption Organization. He further comes to know that the Hero Idol group has recently been discovered, as they found to be using restricted drugs. A warning is sent out for Guangda City's citizens and they ask them to be aware of suspicious people nearby. Zhu Tui's head starts to hurt again and he thinks that this is the side effect of activating gene points. He then realizes that maybe this is his ability as he can sense more things now. He realizes that he can now sense restaurant's inner situation, seats of distribution, number of people and even the kitchen behind the wall. He realizes that more detailed things can't be sensed. He then tries to test his limit. He tries to go back first then slowly experiments to try it out. He then has a strange feeling as if he is being stalked by someone. Zhu then notices 3 people and thinks one of them is stalking him. He thinks that by making them more alert, he might die even faster. He then thinks of taking help from Professor N. After this, Jincheng government office is seen and in the meeting room, Jincheng government's guard colonel, Liu Tianhu is seen. He says that he will be the first one to teach a lesson to the person who will be careless or won't listen to orders as this year's university reporting date is coming. The doctor who treated Zhu interrupts between the meeting and asks Director Zhu that her student, Zhu Tui, is requesting for a rescue from her, saying someone is stalking him. She asks him if he is sending his people to settle or should she go personally to handle it. On checking it, the director says that the stalker that Zhu discovered are people from their SWAT team and with them, Zhu will be fine. The doctor then asks the reason behind sending 3 people for a wisdom-type student. He replies by saying that it's part of their plan but then suddenly realizes that he has sent only 3 people. The doctor then realizes that the 3rd one is most likely from the Hope Redemption Organization's member and decides to take down this unknown stalker to resolve safety threat. The director then talks about maintaining the safety status and according to him, 2 SWAT members will still be able to protect the student's safety. The doctor then gets mad after listening to his and thinks that it might be a bait. The military university recruit director, Jin Kai Kyang, also thinks that it's reasonable, as a student who is awakened 14 gene point, and is a mysterious and wisdom type is a perfect bait. The doctor then gets angry and asks how can they allow this, to which the colonel says that he ordered this. He says that he did this because he want to capture Jincheng government's betrayer from the Hope Redemption Organization, and it can greatly reduce the loss during report period. The doctor then says that even then, they can't use a student who has awakened 14 gene points as bait and wonders if something bad happened to him. The colonel confirms that it won't be an accident as Bates' death and many changes are all in the emergency plan. He claims that he is trading one wise type student for thousands of students' lives in wartime reunions, which is legal. The doctor then decides to leave, saying that she has important things to do. Kai Kyang then stops Professor and tells her to continue with the meeting as her actions might cause the plan to fail. He claims that it is not worth it if she is sent to the minister's judgment court. The colonel then asked the professor to send Zhu the information but ordered him not to reveal the plan. She then sends Zhu a text message, and he comes to know that he has been used as bait and thinks that he has to save himself. Zhu then steps into a shop and asks for a sweet like crushed soft Q taro puree bobo bubble tea with boiling hot water. After taking the drink, he steps out of the shop and notices the stalker walking behind him. Just as the stalker is about to do something, Zhu suddenly throws the boiling hot water drink on his face. The stalker then thinks that his corpse will also be fine and starts to attack him. The stalker attacks Zhu, and he gets pushed into a shop. Zhu thinks that the stalker is a gene liberator and realizes that he is from the Hope Redemption Betrayer organization. Zhu then asks the SWAT members to quickly capture him. Everybody gets scared on hearing that he is a member of the Hope Redemption organization and starts running away. The SWAT members then think that their plan has failed and decide to capture him. The stalker then attacks the SWAT members, although they are trained fighters. Zhu then thinks that he has to find a way since he is the stalker's target, but he then realizes that he is too weak and regrets being the wise type. Just when Zhu closes his eyes, he sees the scene he last saw when he fainted. He sees his big shadow figure sitting cross-legged in front of him as if it were his soul. He confirms that these 4 lights represent those 14 awakened gene points, and he thinks that the gray ones are unawakened ones. It turns out that Zhu can directly see his body's layout, which is his wisdom type's ability. He then comes to know that food is needed to obtain power, which will be provided to the body's different parts. And if another gene has sufficient energy to provide, he can also control the flow of energy. He tries to control the flow of energy and comes to realize that there is a reaction. He feels like his vessels are about to explode and thinks that to awaken gene points, one must either work hard and train or use an expensive medical injection. He then comes to know that the chances of awakening are very low when using consciousness to lure energy flows method to awaken a new gene. On the other hand, the stalker beats the SWAT team members and thinks that he wasted his strength since they are so weak. He then tells Zhu to give up, as no one will come to save him. Just when the stalker is about to grab Zhu, he suddenly attacks him with full power and throws him away. Seeing a wisdom type with such strength surprises the members of the SWAT team, but they decide to capture the stalker again. They both then capture the stalker by saying that he is under arrest. After this, Director Kang suddenly gets a call in the meeting and gets surprised. He tells the colonel that Zhu wasn't injured, and he took the initiative to attack using the name of the Capturing Hope Redemption organization. He says that Zhu helped their SWAT members capture that unknown stalker. The colonel says that now the whole city will know that the Hope Betrayer organization wants to kidnap freshmen, and now they will stop their actions. But the plan has failed. He then wonders who leaked the plan, as Zhu already knew that he was a stalker from the Hope Redemption organization. Professor and then asks the colonel if he wants to check her messages and thinks that the kid is quite smart. The colonel then orders the director to investigate and asks him to write a 20,000-word letter and submit it before ending the day's work. After this, Jin City's SWAT office is seen, where the stalker's identity has been investigated. It turns out the stalker is called Ma Zuhu, and his nickname is Autumn Pants. He is the Hope Organization's E-rank member. Normally he has been F rank, so the 2 SWAT members were no match for him. The other scientists say that Zhu told them it was a fluke. A light meal is prepared for Zhu as he is hungry and thinks that forcefully awakening his gene point will not only cause him head pain but also exhaust his body's energy. He thinks that from now on he has to be cautious when using, as if not, he might die because of his carelessness. He then thinks that his ability is too strong and he should not expose it, otherwise, he might get used as an experimental test object in research. Professor and then says that they are here to explain the awakening ability. One needs to meet the liberation requirements to get injected with a gene compound chain injection. After getting injected, one needs to at least awaken a set of genes, which is the gene energy chain, to become a gene liberator. Gene points will be activated then. After gene points slowly awaken, one will slowly awaken a type of ability similar to the awakened type. Zhu says that he can sense things inside the room, but the professor says that it's just a regular projection. Zhu is seen getting investigated by Director Kang. He says that he received Teacher N's text, and then he suspected that the third person wasn't a good person. The director says that he acted very bravely, so after going to Huazia Gene Evolution University, he needs to work hard and shouldn't lose face for them in the Jin Cheng Fu. The director then thinks that, as expected, and Xiao Zhu's text leaked the information, but this kid has potential and performed well. Zhu then asks when he can go home, to which the director replies that after he signs a non-disclosure contract, he can leave. As the reward for helping to capture the Betrayer organization's member, he will get 6 credit points and $50,000. Zhu thinks that according to the Blue Star Gene Committee and Huazia Gene Committee's signed citizen credit detail, an E-rank betrayer is worth 10 credit points, but they gave him more than half the reward. The director says that even though 6 credit points can't increase his citizen authority limit to E-rank, they are still good enough. Zhu then asks the director if they will again use him as a bait, to which he replies that each year there are many geniuses who awaken their genes everywhere. They could all become the target of a traitorous organization, so they will secretly assign people to protect them. Eliminating betrayer organizations is just their duty. He then says that it's not just him. People like Tong Kai and Gong Ling, who have awakened 16 and 15 gene points, are all secretly protected by their people. He further tells Zhu that they are not so sharp. Currently, they haven't discovered the protectors. After that, Zhu is seen asking Professor An on the phone if he will apply for Huazia Gene Evolution University's wisdom type. He further tells her that the director told him that using him as bait was something normal because each year the Hope Redemption Betrayer organization will try to kidnap or harm the students who have awakened many gene points. To which the professor says that it's true. Zhu thinks that it can happen to him in the future, and the only way to avoid this is to become stronger quickly. After that, the Office of Special Forces is seen, where a message floats that, after observation, it was discovered that Code 37 Seconds target had some weird changes. First, the continuation and follow-up condition. The message requests creating a plan for the future and then a follow-up plan. Due to the long duration with no response, the message proceeds with Code 1. 3 days later, Zhu's mother tells him that his enrollment notification letter has arrived from the Huazia Gene Evolution University. Zhu thinks that it takes too much strength to awaken one gene point. As he has spent 3 days trying to awaken one of the gene points in the left leg, it takes too much strength to awaken one gene point. As he has spent 3 days trying to awaken one of the gene points in the left leg, he then notices that his left leg got no reaction while his right arm got more agile. His dad then tells him not to go overboard and do too much of it, as it can be draining. He then gives a present to Zhu for joining the university on behalf of his mother and himself. He says that since gene evolution requires a lot of resources, the university requires a lot of funding. So, they had prepared some energy refill medicine so that Zhu could last longer. Energy refill medicine is an important supplement given to a gene awakener to increase combat ability. Normal people only have the authority to buy F-rank medicine. While one F-rank medicine costs $100, the E-rank one costs $5,000. His father says that he used his savings to buy this refill medicine, and both his parents tell him to be safe, as they don't want him to achieve anything but just to be safe. Zhu again sits and closes his eyes. He then sees the layout of his body and suddenly feels as if his leg is exploding. He feels like it will explode and then realizes that it finally splitted. Zhu then realizes that he awakened 2 gene points at the same time and feels that his head is hurting. He thinks that E-rank energy refill medicine can only refill energy. It can't replenish mental or spiritual power. He then further thinks that he has to find a way to increase his mental and spiritual power. His parents then call him, but Zui suddenly jumps very fast, and then realizes that his left leg's jumping power increased abruptly. His parents are shocked to see him all strong and muscled up. Zui thinks that his body's ability has improved and his right arm fiber has increased again. He then throws a can to test it again and realizes that his finger strength has also increased. But throwing cards requires not only strength, but also the right skill to hit the target. He thinks that the cards have light airflow, but the soybean does not. He throws the bowl of soybean, but it blows up in the air, and he realizes that it has a terrible destructive power, and if it hits a person or is replaced by a metal ball, it will be lethal. Zui is then seen leaving for the university after his farewell. His parents worry about him, but Cheng Mo assures his parents that he will take care of him. They both then discuss Ting Cheng and how he joined the Army's military university. All the students are then seen sitting on the bus. A student then comments on Cheng Mo and his eating habits and makes fun of him for making a campus belle girlfriend. On listening to this, Zui gets angry and interrupts the student. Just when they are about to fight, the teacher comes in between them and interrupts them. Cheng Mo stops Zui and tells him not to offend the teacher. Zui gives a warning to the student, and the teacher also warns both students. He then introduces himself, saying that his name is Cha Yifeng, that he belongs to the inspection department of the Golden City Education Department, and that he is the lead teacher on this trip. He then says that he hopes all students will be disciplined along the way. The teacher then makes a comment while looking at Zui, but Cheng Mo tells Zui not to be impulsive and says that the student standing next to Ming Xuan is the year's top student, Tom Kai. He says that he opened 16 gene base points on the spot during the unified examination. He further tells him about the genius girl Gong Ling, who is the coexistence of strength and beauty. Suddenly, Professor N comes and introduces herself. She says that she is the escort teacher for Vehicle 3 students and hopes that the students will stay disciplined. After this, the inside of the mobile command post is seen, and the colonel observes the course of movement of the vehicles. One of the employees tells him that, in recent years, due to the implementation of the gene unification policy, various traitorous organizations have lost a stable source of backup forces. So, the school season every year has a high incidence of new students being kidnapped, especially in the middle of the reported road, which is most likely to be ambushed. He then says that only the commander has the right to decide the route, and the transport convoy is divided into hundreds of groups. The colonel then says that Vehicle 3 is their top priority, and asks everyone to be careful. After this, Zui is seen thinking about the directions the convoy is taking, and suddenly, the teacher announces that they are 30 minutes away from reaching the first supply point. He says that the convoy won't stop for long and asks the students to stay away from the wall in order to avoid being shot by defense troops. On reaching the first supply point, Zui realizes that it's a very dangerous area. The leader asks everyone to quickly return to their respective vehicles. Zui notices that they are about to get on the vehicle, and that some people are still inside the washrooms. Zui uses telepathy, notices Professor Cha is inside, and wonders what he was doing hiding inside the bathroom. He then tells the guards that the professor put something in his mouth, but instead of believing him, they both start laughing. Suddenly, an announcement is heard about immediately reaching the vehicle as there are only 30 seconds left. Professor Cha then taunts him about reaching late, but Zui asks him if he ate something and says that he wanted to ask about whether there is any canteen on the base. He then thinks there is something fishy about Cha Yifeng. Zui then starts thinking about Professor Cha's teeth and thinks that his 2 teeth are not ordinary dentures. He then thinks about telling the soldiers, but then restrains himself because he thinks he might alert the enemy. He then suddenly realizes and thinks that he can report this to Professor N. After this, he tells Professor N that he wants to ask her something about the mysterious department, and everybody notices this. He shows her a message that says that Professor Cha has secretly installed 2 dentures in the supply point. The material is something he has never seen in his life or textbooks, and now his 2 dentures are constantly colliding with each other. On reading this, Professor N asks Professor Cha to open his mouth for an examination. He asks her what is wrong, but she suddenly gives him a strong puff, which pushes him away. She also asks the soldiers to sit down and holds him captive. Professor N asks Zui to take out Professor Cha's teeth and show them to Professor N. On noticing it, she comes to know that it is magnetic binary tantalum and that it is an ultra-low infrared sound generating device. It's extremely rare, and most of the signal shielding means that it can't block its communication signals. She asks Professor Cha who he has been sending messages to, but he says that it's too late, and they can't escape now. An employee of the organization is seen telling Director Zhu that they are about to leave the mountains, and as soon as they enter the plains, the traitorous organization will never succeed. Suddenly, a notification comes in telling us that Vehicle 3 has separated from the convoy and changed direction without authorization. An employee then reports that Vehicle 3 is requesting a direct report to the commander. Professor N says that Vehicle 3 has spotted a spy and that their route has been exposed. But Director Zhu says that this is a trap, and they have to move now. Director Zhu orders to follow Vehicle number 3 and change course of direction immediately. He then tells everyone to call for help from the nearest emergency unit and request an air escort. They then notice the convoys getting attacked. The director told all vehicles that they should prepare to evade. He then comes to know that the enemy has precision-guided weapons and commands the envoy to abandon their vehicles, defend the area, and wait for reinforcements. After this, the professor tells everyone that it's an emergency and asks everybody to follow the emergency manual instructions and leave their seats. Zui wonders when the traitorous organization became so rampant in Huaxia, as it is completely different from what is advertised on TV. Professor N tells everybody to keep their bodies down and not run around. The invasion leader tells his soldiers to fire the electromagnetic jamming bombs and functional decoy bombs and to intercept the dam pulse cannon. A war starts between the soldiers of the organization and the invaders, and they come to know that it's an enemy assault force. Zui notices that the army is more prepared than he expected, as the people don't look like students, rather they are soldiers in disguise. Suddenly, a monster-type man sneaks an attack on them, and the soldiers try to kill him. But he kills the soldiers. The ground starts sinking, and the soldier tells the director that they are aiming for vehicle number 3. Director Zhu comes and attacks the man with full power. The man then tries to buy some time from him, as he can't even block a single move. After this, the men say that they are safe as the commander has drawn the rebels' firepower. Suddenly, a sound starts coming from the forest, and the professor announces that the reformers have also joined. The soldiers try to stop the reformers, but they come and kill them. Professor Cha tells Professor N to surrender, but she tells him to shut his mouth and attacks him. She then comes in full form and says that no one will be able to touch the students as long as the professors are with them. She says that the last line of defense is still here. On the other hand, Director Zhu tells his men to go help vehicle number 3 as the rebels are targeting it. Zui comes to know that the professor used to fight, as she is also from the mysterious department. Professor and then attacks the reformers with mysterious balls, which impresses Zui and his friend. She then attacks a lion-shaped reformer, but he whistles and calls a group of eagles to attack. Everyone is then told to raise their shields above their heads. Both the reformers and the eagles start attacking the soldiers and the professors. Zui asks everyone to gather around him. A reformer is about to attack his classmate, but he thinks that he has prepared the steel ball just in case. Zui kills the reformer with the steel ball, and the lion reformer notices this and tries to kill Zui. The lion reformer then comes to kill Zui, but Cheng Mo comes in between them with his shield and tries to protect him, but the reformer pushes him away. Zui uses another steel ball to attack the reformer. He then thinks that he needs to change tactics in order to kill him. After that, Gong Ling comes and helps Zui kill the reformer. Just as the reformer is about to come and attack Zui, Professor N again comes to his rescue. Director Zhu, while fighting, notices that the reinforcements have come. After that, the attacker announces the execution of the merger evacuation of Plane 3. Zui notices that Professor N has fainted and is about to fall from the sky. He immediately runs and catches her. Director Zhu then told his soldiers that there was no need to chase or construct fortifications on site. He tells them to treat the wounded and search for and rescue the students. He thinks that it all did not go according to plan. Cheng Mo finally comes to his senses and is seen lying on a bed with a fractured arm. He asks about the enemy from Zui, to which he replies that the reinforcements came in time and they escaped. Zui tells him that the doctor has said he is lucky to have had 3 ribs broken and no internal organs hurt, plus a radius fracture from which he needs to recuperate for at least 3 months. Zui then tells him that in just a few minutes, a total of 12 soldiers died in a battle, and 4 students were killed. If it wasn't for Professor N, the number of casualties would have been worse. Cheng Mo asks him about the professor being held by snipers, but he tells him that she fought hard but later lost her mental strength to fight. Suddenly, Gong Ling comes and tells Zui that Professor N is awake and wants Zui to come over immediately. Professor N asks him if he took care of the blood on her body, but Gong Lin tells her that she is the one who took care of the blood on her body and changed her clothes. Gong Ling then helps Professor N, as Director Zhu has asked for her. After that, Director Zhu and his men are seen torturing Professor Cha. Professor N comes and asks about the result of the investigation from Director Zhu, to which he replies that Professor Cha must have been trained specially, as the psychotropic drugs and torture are useless. He says that the Jin City authorities have searched his office and home, but there is nothing of value. Neighbors said his family disappeared a few days ago, so he's well prepared. Professor N then asks the director what he is going to do with him now, to which he says that the higher authorities should deal with it as, under normal circumstances, it will be sent to a military court, and it has been good dead end. But that may have made a breakthrough in the magnetization technology of binary tantalum, as the magnetism of the thing has almost disappeared. He further says, in other words, this is just ordinary binary tantalum dentures and cannot send any signal. It can no longer be used as physical evidence to prove that he is a spy. But this is their only evidence so far. Dong Ling then says that all of us are witnesses, which makes him a spy. But then Professor Cha starts laughing and says that they are wronging innocent people. He says that he will not admit anything and that they should all wait to be punished by the law. He tells Zui that he will make him pay the price. Professor N then asks the director if they are still enforcing the wartime regulations, to which the director replies yes, because of the attack during the day, the normal wartime regulations that he had ordered to be enforced were automatically converted to emergency wartime regulations. Professor N then says that she thinks there is a possibility of another attack in the future, and in order to eliminate possible dangers, she is recommending that this spy be subjected to a high-intensity interrogation. Director Zhu then asks his intelligence staff to record. He says that he will use non-conventional methods to investigate Cha Yifeng immediately, as he agrees with Professor N's opinion on security. On listening to this, Professor Cha gets scared and says that he wants to go to court and see a lawyer. He then agrees to speak and gets ready to say anything. Professor N tells Professor Cha that he is no longer of any value, as she is sure that he won't leave any traces, and that his accomplices already know that he has been captured, so any information he knows has been cleaned up. She then tortures him with her power, but Director Zhu asks her to do it himself. He says that he already has a lot of debt, and he is not afraid to add another one. Director Zhu then tells his staff to remember that the investigation lasted 5 minutes, and that spy Cha Yifeng died due to excessive blood loss due to injury. Director Zhu then praises Zui and says that he and everyone else owe him a debt of gratitude. He says that he has talent, as he first found the tailing agent, and now he is the first to find the traitor. After this, Gong Ling asks the Professor Wu such a detestable spy can't be shot on the spot. Professor N then replies by saying that there are still many rules in the world, and bad people often know how to use the rules better than good people. She then tells her that the commander called her because she is a professor at Gene Evolution University, and they are not from the same camp. She says that if the commander wrote in the report that she was there, then the higher-ups would be confident enough to withdraw the investigation. Zhu then comes to know that he had this planned from the beginning but just wanted to bring it up. Professor N then tells them that what happened today was just an appetizer, as the real world is completely different from the world they know. She says that they will know more when they enter the school, and that there are many strong people and dangers that can happen at any time. She says that only by working hard can they have a chance to survive in this generation. Therefore, she says that the first lesson they must learn after entering the school is to protect themselves. Gong Ling says that it would have been better if they had arranged for a warplane escort earlier, as the traitors would certainly not dare to attack. Zui tells her that the army was available to escort them as the convoys from the other schools arrived safely. Cheng Mo then says that the Earth Transcendent Man was really powerful, as even the commander himself could not take him down. Professor N then tells them that he is a B-grade mutant and he is pretty powerful. In addition, the battlefield was designed for Earth power attacks, so it's not surprising that they were able to escape unscathed. The genetic base of Gong Ling is turned on by the mystical transcendental class, plant, and radiant affinity, but if there were no plants, she wouldn't have been able to control the plants and wrap them around the transformer, she said. Gong Ling then asks the professor about her current situation. She says that she is currently a C-grade genetic mutant. Zui gets surprised after listening to this and asks if a C-grade mutant can be a professor at the Huaxia University of Genetic Evolution. She says that for the extreme system, one should at least be at the gene evolution grade, but the requirements for the mystery department are lower as most of them are B-grade mutants. And for those with special abilities, the requirements can even be lower. Gong Ling asks the professor about her abilities, but she says that in the future, don't tell anyone whatever abilities you have gained, as that will ensure that you will live longer. Zui then asks her if there is going to be a problem when they enter the school, and each of their genetic bases and abilities will be reported. But she says that there will be no problem as the data is very confidential and anyone who wants to see it needs the appropriate access. After that, they all arrive in Kyoto, and Cheng Mo asks Zui if Professor N has a crush on him because he saved her. They all arrive at the Huaxia University of Genetic Evolution. The students are then asked to bring their belongings and check in at the front desk in 2 groups. The students are told that the entrance test will be held early tomorrow morning, which will affect their ranking, so they are all advised to get some rest tonight so their performance doesn't get affected tomorrow. Cheng Mo then says that he can't take the test in this condition, but the staff says that the medical center has arranged a bed for him, so he doesn't have to participate in the orientation program. They say that he can stay in the hospital first. Cheng Mo asks if it is free, and they agree as it will take him half a month for injuries to heal, and the school will cover all the expenses during that time. He gets happy listening to this and starts talking about the risk. Zui tells Gong Ling that he is happy because he knows he can eat for free for half a month. After this, Zui enters his room and thinks that he must start learning the system as soon as possible, as he can't take any risks. He thinks that the money his parents gave him is fine for living, but if he wants to practice, then he is not even close. He thinks he will get lower level 20 energy supplement pills, 4 bottles of E-grade energy supplements, and 2 bottles of muscle building high enzyme protein monthly, as this is a substantial reward. And if he turns it into money, it will be more than this father's salary. He thinks that even if he mastered the ability to open genetic bases on his own, each genetic base still needs to consume at least 1 E-grade energy supplement pill. He further thinks that he cannot certainly afford a bottle of E-class potion, which costs 5,000 yuan. He thinks that money and medicine are the two most important things right now. C medium grade requires at least 20 genetic points to be turned on, and Zhu is still too short. If he can raise them tonight, he will be able to cover almost a third of the year's cultivation costs. Zui then decides to try to turn on the points in his left hand as well. After that, Zui sleeps while lying on the floor and wakes up the next morning. Suddenly, Professor N comes into his room and asks him to close the door in his eyes. She says that she has put a piece of paper on the table and asks him to focus on it and read it out to her. After this, Zhu's senior, Chai Snap, comes and he is in charge of taking them to the test. He notices that there is no one in the room and leaves. Teacher N tells Zhu that his senses have improved a lot and asks him about the number of genetic points he has turned on. He tells her that he has turned 20 and asks if there is any chance of being C medium grade. She says that if he will play normally, then it's not impossible, but then says that she has come to tell him something important. She suggested he not show his full strength when taking the test later. Not showing his full strength confuses Zhu. Professor N then asks him confuses Zhu. Professor N then asks him what, according to him, is suitable to do with this level of spiritual sense. To which Zhu replies that being a spy may be a choice. Professor N agrees and says that sort of knowing inside out might be the right thing. The alliance between various countries, between various pharmaceutical groups, between various research institutes, and even between their schools has too many rivalry battlefields. She says there is always the right place for you. Zhu asks her how much he should keep a secret, and Professor N says at least half. She tells Zhu that he is automatically registered under his name as a new student in the Wisdom Department and asks him if he feels this arrangement is right. Then he must sign the report. She hands him a battle report and says that he is a key player, so this report needs his signature before submitting. The battle report says that freshman Zhu has killed reformers in a hostile attack. This shocks Zhu, and he tells Professor N that she killed the reformer and he has nothing to do with it. But she says that without his help, she wouldn't have been able to get his hands on the reformer, so he gets the credit. And the government should have a lot of rewards that will help him and then tell him to sign them. After this, Zhu tells his senior that he's ready to go for the test. But his senior gets happy and tells Zhu that he is awesome as he has won the Iceberg Goddess in just one night. He then asks him how he did it. Zhu tells him that he has misunderstood as there was an accident on the way, but his senior says that he shouldn't explain anything. He asks him to look around and says that he is the only one in the room. He tells him that it's a single room specially arranged for him. He further tells him that he has a doormate, and his name is Chengmo, but right now he lives in the medical center. He then thinks that this guy has a big mouth, and because of this, he might not be able to get along with others in the school. He decides to shut him up by making a bet with him. He says that his right hand is good at flicking beans, and if he can dodge this bean, he will tell him. But if he can't, then he is not allowed to mention this morning's events to anyone else. Chai Snap takes it as a challenge and accepts it. He tells Zhu that he is a C-rank gene liberator of the Extreme Department, and among the sets of abilities, he opened 2 of them, which are speed and nerve reaction. He then says that his nerve reaction speed is only 0.01 seconds. Zhu then flips the bean, and with great speed, it hits the cheek of Chai Snap, and he loses the bet. His senior accuses him of cheating and says that he thought he would only shoot one at a time, but he used his left hand to shoot the other one. Zhu then tries to defend himself, and his senior suddenly notices that a half bean is on the ground. Zhu tells him that he used half in each hand and that there was no cheating. He then declares that he is a man of his words and will not tell anyone else about today's incident. Zhu thinks that opening the base point last night was very successful, and his left hand is not weaker than the right hand. But his senior says that he has to pay for that. After that, the testing center is seen, and Zhu thinks that the Wisdom Department is worthy of being an unpopular department, and he doesn't need to queue at all. A staff employee then tells him that his blood sampling results show that he has opened a total of 20 gene base points, and according to the rules, he can be classified as a C-rank low grade. However, he still has the sensing ability, so ask him to go to the sensing department to test it. She says that if his sensing ability performs better, he can be a C-rank mid-grade. Zui thinks that the test of the Wisdom Department is really casual, as just looking at the laboratory test sheet is enough. He wonders how he can do it without being in the limelight and at the same time raising the evaluation level. Zhu then notices others giving the test. He notices that the farthest sensing distance is 2.26 meters and sensing clarity ordinary is more than 2 centimeters. He thinks that he can also control at this distance so that he can get a good evaluation to ensure that the overall evaluation mentioned is a C-rank mid-grade. With this, he thinks, the results will look ordinary and won't attract attention. The examiner then suddenly notices Zai. Zui then gets anxious and wonders if the examiner knows that he used his sensing ability to peek into the marking sheet. Zui thinks that he can't mess it up and will finish the test first. The examiner then asked him to try to sense what was inside the box beside him. He asked him to write down what he saw, including the sign and the content. Using his ability, Zhu realizes that he can see till 3.24 and remembers that he could only see till 3.12 when he left home. He then wonders if his mental power has also increased in the past few days. The examiner writes his sensing ability as 1.63 and says that his sensing ability is a low C grade and is evaluated as normal. He then asked him to confirm it with his professor from the wisdom department. The examiner then introduces himself. He says that his name is King Shen, and he is the associate professor of the sensory department of Mysterious Academy at Huaxia Gene Evolution University. He asks him if he would like to come to the sensory department, as he has already applied for the wisdom department and has sensing ability. Zui politely declines his offer, but the professor says that he still has a special recruitment quota in his hands and he can give it to him. His senior, Chai Snap, listens to this and his heart starts aching because of it. Zui thinks that the condition is too tempting, as an upgrade can reduce his family burden and be a great help in his future upgrade. But he thinks that by going to the sensory department, there is a risk of being trained as a spy, as he can't hide his sensing abilities for long. He thinks that his talent is mental strength, which is more in line with his future. His senior says that he should say yes, but the professor says that to confirm the transfer, he needs to get it signed by his teacher from the department. He then asks if his professor is in Xiaoxu, and Zui confirms it and says that she got transferred to Jin City this time. The professor again says that he will welcome Zhu if he decides to join, and Zhu says he will think about it. His senior feels that his energy is plummeting. After that, Zhu asks his senior if his bean flicking ability can raise his level. Here's the video ends. Guys, if you like this recap, then like the video. I will meet you in another video. Till then, bye.